Welcome. Sit back, get comfy, and let's get to it. Sit at My Grave, Season 5, Ugly, Chapter 3. Once again, he was on the road. He was still coherent. The light buzz in his head felt nice. He was tapping his fingers on the wheel to the beat of the music, driving to nowhere really, just trying not to think of the missed opportunity. This was his way of clearing his head. It was getting late. His eyes were heavy, his body exhausted. It was time to head back, crash in his apartment, and hope Amory wasn't waiting there to yell at him for missing the remainder of the concert. Reed squinted, looking for a place to turn around. It was dark. The buildings around him didn't have any lights in the windows. In fact, the street lights were dim, were not shining at all. He glanced from his left to the right. He started to notice there weren't really any cars around either. No signs indicating anything. The only thing he could find was a busted up old street sign. Where even is this? Reed questioned. Suddenly, he was more aware of his surroundings. He'd been driving for what felt like forever, mind elsewhere. He continued cruising for a while, trying to recall the area, but nothing stood out. If you've seen one busted building, you've seen them all, he thought as he went. The wind picked up, blowing disregarded trash across the street. Reed couldn't help but chuckle at the irony. On top of everything, was he seriously lost? He whipped out his phone, trying to figure out at least where he was at, and realized how low his battery was. He cursed under his breath. Maybe he was irresponsible. He didn't even have an app for a map, Reed thought. He scrolled looking for one, while he kept taking glances at the road. To his shock, he felt the car become sluggish to move. He heard it sputtering, and finally, it stopped. Seriously? He questioned. He tried to start it up again. It revved and went flat. He glanced around all his windows again. He was in the street under a flickering streetlight. Broken, weathered buildings few and far between. Nothing looked open. No one lived there. He laid back, folding his arms. This sucks. He spoke again, clicking his teeth. He glanced down at his bottles, one full, one with a few sips out. He considered drinking more, but he looked around the place. Something told him he needed to stay sober. After trying and failing, his car still stayed put. This was getting ridiculous. His phone even reduced its brightness to conserve power. The only sounds was the occasional wind and thunder around. Otherwise, it was only Reed and his thoughts of the broken down car he sat in, pondering. He was in one of those spots people claim to be left in their dreams. No one there to call for quiet, yet the air demanded silence. Reed shifted. He didn't feel scared. He was annoyed and tired, however. He could swear as he stared down as far as he could see that he was alone. Yet, it felt foolish not to stay vigilant anyhow. The whole atmosphere felt off, creepy. That thought made him glance at his phone. Now's as good a time as any. Who else should he call at a time like this? The phone ringing filled the car. Reed stared at the screen, loosely gnawing on his bottle cap. It was late. Likely his brother was asleep. And soundly, it seemed like. Even after... Finally, you picked up. Listen, man, Reed spoke. The moment he heard the phone get answered, it felt like such a long time being out here alone, although he couldn't quite recall the exact time. Why are you calling me? I thought we had an understanding. Arden's haughty tone came to the speakers. Back to the basics. The hit hadn't put out the fire, it seemed. I broke down. My phone's about to die, Reed explained. He heard his own exhaustion through his voice. So? Came Arden's reply. I could hear him lingering for an answer, but it was so obvious. So, I texted you my address. I need to be picked up. I'm not by any... Reed explained. Thankfully, he did find a map. It gave him a little info up to what area he was stranded in, but he knew he wouldn't have enough power to make it home. Arden's scoff stopped Reed in his tracks, his own expression shifting. His mouth wanted to smile, but the frown showed his confusion. Did he not sound serious enough? Why did Arden sound so unbothered? He hadn't even heard him move like he was trying to save his address. I don't have a car. Call Mom. Stop bothering me, Arden replied sharply. He couldn't detect the concern or levity in his voice. Got the hint. Arden was still mad at him. They both said some things, but they were past it now. They said rude stuff, shouted in the rain like dramatized idiots, but this was dragging it. She's probably not even home right now. It would be easier if you call for pickup service. Or call Gallon's folks or something. I don't have a lot of time left on this thing. After the words left Reed's mouth, he felt his body urging him to look up. He gave the window his attention again. Same as always, he was alone. He shook his head and focused back on the call. I don't know what you didn't understand from earlier, but if you think I'm gonna rush out of bed to help you after all that, you're more of an idiot than I originally thought, was his cold reply. Uncovering the bold answer, there was a hint of smugness to it, almost like he was glad to hear he was stranded, and relishing the fact he was calling him for help. Reed wondered briefly if he had ever done that before. The wording caught, but more of the tone behind it. Why would he rush out to help him? He was stupid for thinking anyone would. Would you stop the monologue? Come on, Artie, I'm broke down in some sketchy spot. Call someone for me. Reed almost rolled his eyes. Arden couldn't be serious. He was overthinking it. Didn't have to tell Arden how to help him. He was smart. He always had been. He knew how to help him out. If he wanted to. Figure it out, Arden spat. Reed paused, his fingers moving on their own, staying busy. Amory's spiteful words came back at him. It was when they'd been arguing about him leaving to search for Arden. He didn't believe his brother didn't want to see him on stage. They had their banter, but they were siblings. Of course they fought. But they'd still want to see each other win. No, you wanted him to see you play, Amory had claimed. It was emotion far beyond those simple words. It applied to so many situations, arguments. It always boiled down to Amory claiming, you want the bond to be real so bad you imagine the whole thing, and excuse the poor treatment. He doesn't care about it. Neither does anyone else from your home. Arden, Reed started. He felt one hand fidgeting with his piercings. We're brothers. The tone was a mix of shock. He was the only one who remembered. Only by blood, Arden responded. Reed opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out. Before he could make up his mind of what to say, his phone shut off. One last flash of an empty battery before it went black. Reed slowly looked up, out his front windshield. Without the phone's light, the outside looked that much darker. Smoky air, a cracked street, and graffiti-covered buildings. It was the only thing he could see. Could barely hear the honks and speeding of other cars from where he was at. Reed cussed again, putting his phone away. He was lost, without a way to drive or even call anyone now. And the only person who had his location was Arden. And he made it more than clear he wouldn't bother. Not for him, at least. Reed sat up, fixing his coat a bit. While he was sitting there sulking. If he didn't work on it, he wasn't going to make it home tonight.